Hey everyone, I'm Tassinix, and welcome to another Datacron set guide, this time covering Set 21, Echoes of Rebellion. I am joined once more by Aesop Rock, the #1 Grand Arena player in the world. How are you, sir? How's it going today?
Doing good. Doing good. How you doing?
Doing well. All right, man. I'm glad we got to get together a little earlier and do some of the prep work because definitely that was not fit to get done all in 1 hour before. So appreciate you making the time. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. We'll talk about the stats on this set at first. My personal early thoughts is there's no losers. Again, really appreciate CG for giving us this flexibility because you've got crit damage, potency, health, protection, crit chance, armor penetration, and tenacity. There's no way to go wrong. There's no duds. You can, re-roll to optimize for certain groups of stats for certain teams.
Yeah.
Anything you have to say there?
No, it's great. I mean, this will be a fun set with certain offensive-based stats, but also some bulk stats. But then we also have a bulk 3, which I'm sure we're going to get into soon. So you can make some thick teams. It'll be fun.
For sure. Yeah. Health and stats. Light Sider's going to be just enormous for the life of this. All right, let's get started then on alignments, the level 3s. We'll start with Dark Side. So you got 5 choices. First one, whenever Dark Side allies gain a buff, they recover 2% health and protection. Next, whenever Dark Side allies daze or stun an enemy, they recover 10% health and protection. Third is whenever Dark Side allies inflict a debuff on an enemy, they deal damage to that enemy equal to 2% of that enemy's max health. Fourth one is whenever Dark Side allies use a special ability, they gain evasion up, health steal up, and health up for 2 turns, aka the buffs level 3. And then last, whenever Dark Side allies start their turn with at least 3 debuffs that can be dispelled, they gain tenacity up for 2 turns. So in general, we were of the mind that for most teams, Dark Side, it's going to be the buffs up level 3. That'll be your default choice. Of course, there are a good handful of teams like Star Killer, Viva. You can name quite a handful of Dark Siders that would make effective use of that max health, including the new Datacron. So yeah. Anything you have to add on that?
No, I mean, I think you summarized it well. The Dark Side level 3s I don't think they're the big winners of this set. So it'll be more of finding your right option for what you're looking for.
On to the light sides. All right. First one is at the beginning of their turn, light side allies have plus 25% chance to dispel all debuffs on them. It's pretty mediocre. Light side allies start the battle with protection up 20% for 2 turns. That's the next one. Also, pretty mediocre, but as I recall when we were doing the prep for this Aesop, you were saying, if you were of the mind to use Gidme, that would be probably your best choice. Good one. The first time a light side tank ally is defeated, revive them with 100% health, reset their cooldowns, and they gain a bonus turn. Limit once per battle. There's a few teams for whom this might make sense. Maybe if you're worried about your record dying on a new Bad Batch team, if you were really worried about it. For JML, perhaps. But not usually going to be the default choice. Which brings us to the fourth one. At the start of the encounter, light side allies gain 15% max health and max protection for each other light side ally. This is going to be your default choice. And then the fifth one. The first time each light side ally is defeated, remaining light side allies gain 15% offense and 20 speed, stacking for the rest of the encounter. In the past, this has been good with Qui-Gon Jinn and maybe a couple other teams, but gosh, when you can have this bulk fourth ability here on a Crown where you can have health and protection in the stat pool as well to synergize, tough to pass that up. So again, probably mostly the bulk. Anything else you had for this one, Aesop?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of your light side are going to be bulk. See, generally, when you have the options for TM or bulk, it's one of the two. And in this case, we have bulk. So yeah, that's going to likely be the winner for pretty much all your light side teams.
All right. Oh yeah, let me hear that. At least if you're watching on your phone or Or you can see the recording as we're doing it, man. All right, faction time. Starting with Sith. Possible Sith mechanics. First one. Whenever Sith allies are stunned, gain 50% turn meter and recover 25% health and protection. Really don't think this is necessary for most Sith. Next one is whenever a Sith ally falls below 100% health, they gain a bonus turn. Limit once per character per battle. Now, this one is sneaky. Going to be really nice with Darth Nihilus, however you're using him. Probably with Drea, let's be. At the end of each turn, Sith allies recover health and protection equal to 50% of the amount enemies recovered that turn. This recovery can't trigger this effect on enemies. Fourth one is whenever an enemy is defeated by a Sith ally, that enemy can't be revived. It's nice. I can't really think of a lot of teams where I'm using Sith on offense and then worried about if they come back. Can't say I think about that a lot. Fifth one. Whenever Sith allies critically hit an enemy during their turn, that ally gains 10% offense, stacking for 2 turns. So, probably for a lot of the Sith teams then, the stacking offense seems to be the best one. But like I said, for Nihilus in particular, the bonus turn, pretty nice. Pretty nice. We can make real effective use of that. Who else comes to mind for you, Aesop? Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like playing with those mechanics, right? So like you could go to the Nihilus lead Sith team and have some fun with that, where anytime they get hit, all of a sudden they instantly all go. Playing with Malik, for instance, who converts his whole protection to 1 health bar. So he'll, as soon as you hit him once, he gets an instant turn. So fun stuff like that you can try to play with. Like you said, though, I think the stacking offense, they're not earth-shattering. They don't like change the faction completely or change a battle, but you can have some fun with these.
Fair. All right, next faction, Rebel Fighters. Possible Rebel Fighter mechanics. First one, whenever a Rebel Fighter ally defeats an enemy, they take a bonus turn. It seems nice, but this is like a classic win harder, in my opinion. If you're already killing somebody, this isn't specifically most likely the help you need. Next one, whenever Rebel Fighter allies inflict a debuff on an enemy during their turn, they deal bonus damage equal to 10% of that enemy's max health, which can't be evaded. And, you can have some debuffers or whatever with your Mon Mothma team, but I think we all know this one is a pretty big call out to Saw, however you're using him. Next one. Whenever Rebel Fighter allies are revived, they recover 25% protection, gain 25% turn meter, and reduce their cooldowns by 1. Okay. It reads better than it probably is, because that's whenever Rebel Fighter allies are revived. Ideally, if you picked your fight well, you're not losing a lot of characters, and if you are losing somebody, hopefully just once, and then you bring them back, in which case, a lot of value. Fourth one. Whenever Rebel Fighter allies grant a buff to another ally, that ally gains 10% turn meter, limit once per turn per ally. So you can't gain multiple instances of multiple buffs in a single turn per ally. So that one's actually probably the best default one, if you had to pick one that way. Fifth, whenever Rebel Fighter allies attack out of turn, they have a 25% chance to remove 10% turn meter from the target. So that one is, again, a call out, I think, mostly to Mon Mothma, but if I had to choose one for her, it would be this fourth one. Whenever their Rebel Fighter allies grant a buff to another ally, that ally gains 10% turn meter. That one's going to be good. What you got to say, Aesop?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's that one. It's the turn meter gain on buff, or it's going to be the max health damage. I think those are going to be your two big winners here, depending on what you're trying to do and what the counters are going to be, right? So it's either you're going to pump out a bunch of damage and doing some debuffs, or you're going to take a lot of turns through gaining a bunch of buffs. So whatever your team needs, either on offense or defense, it's going to kind of dictate what you're going to do here.
Yeah, I really do think they're probably the only two worth considering.
Yeah.
All right, next faction, Bad Batch. First mechanic, it's a long text. Bad Batch allies can ignore taunt to target an enemy that was damaged previously by a Bad Batch ally on their turn. So, I think what's her name? Batcher gets to ignore taunt to be able to mark somebody, and then other characters are able to focus on the marked character. But now everybody can kind of ignore taunts. That's kind of neat. Next clause of this same effect is whenever an ally is defeated, dispel stealth from the strongest ally. They gain 200% defense for 2 turns and recover 100% health and protection. So yeah, whenever an ally is defeated, right. So it's just going to bulk out your tank if you lose somebody. All right, this one does a lot. This is really significant. I think easily the best of these, but we'll go through the others here. Whenever Bad Batch allies recover health, they recover protection equal to the amount of health recovered. Bad Batch allies can't recover protection this way more than once per turn, or if their health was full. Okay. Fourth one. Oh, sorry, that's the third one. Man, these are long. Whenever a Bad Batch ally is critically hit, they gain 100% critical avoidance and crit chance for 2 turns. So yeah, we just enjoyed this on the outgoing set 19 for unaligned force users. Now they ported that effect over to Bad Batch. It's okay. Probably not as impactful as that first ability. I don't know. Next one. Whenever Bad Batch allies start their turn with at least 2 debuffs that can be dispelled, they have a 65% chance to dispel all debuffs on themselves. Probably just not as good as the first. And then the first time each Bad Batch ally falls below 50% health, all Bad Batch allies reduce their cooldowns by 1 and gain 10% turn meter. It's not terrible, just mediocre. Everything looks mediocre in comparison to that first one. How do you feel, Aesop?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first one is still probably going to be the most impactful. I gotta be honest, I haven't played with the new team enough to know, like, oh, in this situation, you'd rather have crit avoidance, or this is a counter that regens a bunch of health, and thus you want them regenerating. Like, maybe if you're going with Gungans against them or something, if they have the equal health regen, they're just going to be cranking health regen as the Gungans regen. I have no idea. So it's something worth playing with, but I think obviously the first one, if you get it, keep it.
Yeah, and I do take your point though. If you were only thinking to run the new Bad Batch on defense, that second ability there, whenever Bad Batch allies recover health, they recover protection equal to the amount of health recovered. So we know that Omega's leadership is restoring percentage-based health and protection. So that means in addition to the health portion of that, you would get an additional bit of protection back on top of it. You could be extra super annoyingly durable. It's possible. Still, yeah, likely to just keep the first.
Yeah.
All right. Next faction, Separatists. We're back. All right. Whenever Separatist allies use a special ability on their turn, they gain riposte for 2 turns. This is always a good one. The first time each Separatist ally falls below 50% health, they gain damage immunity for 1 turn and gain health steal up for 2 turns. Certainly, on defense, this is a really attractive choice. Third one is, at the end of their turn, Separatist allies recover 50% protection if they inflicted at least 5 debuffs that turn. This one's really weak. Will probably only get value in 5 vs 5, and even then, is it really value compared to some of these other choices? Next one. Whenever a Separatist ally deals damage to an enemy and no other enemy is blinded, inflict blind for 2 turns on the target enemy, which can't be resisted. Say what you will of this one. If you have this on your Trench team, on your Grievous team, and they're set on defense, among the things that won't work will be a solo Wampa. We can at least live with that. All right, at the end of their turn, Separatist allies gain defense penetration up and offense up for 1 turn. This is sneakily good. Making your, Django's behavior is to use his flamethrower first and then the rockets next. And so, having that defense penetration up and offense up for that second turn of his is a bad time. Say nothing of your General Grievous team. Maybe if you're still using Geos. I know you were pointing that out, Aesop. I really wasn't even thinking about Geonosians, but there are a lot of folks that might be looking to capitalize on that here. But what do you got to say on these 6s?
Yeah, I mean, I think these all could be fun with different teams at different points, right? And we'll get to it when we get to the 9s, that there's some fun 9s with this faction too that can take advantage of these. But yeah, I mean, Geos with blind are fun. All of these things can tweak traditional counters with them that you didn't used to be able to use. So we'll have some good times.
Fantastic. All right, for characters, there are a huge roster of these guys, and I'll tell you, in previous videos, Aesop and I have gone down the whole list, but it's been really inefficient to do that when, gosh, a lot of them we've ended up saying just weren't worth it. So, without further ado, let me bust out with the Datacron Set 21 early winners. These are the level 9s we think are worth considering. I have organized them here by faction, and we more or less prioritized them from most to least desirable, going from left to right within each one. All of them are worth considering, but maybe prioritize getting them in this order type of thing. All right, first up is Rebel Fighters. So, with a Luthencron, which we think is going to be your default choice for Saw, you're going to run a bulk level 3. Your level 6 can be the 10% turn meter on buffs or the max percent health damage. Personally, I'll probably be running the max percent health damage, but it's not for nothing that the turn meter could be considered. As far as the stats go, there's a lot of offense that you can have with Luthen and Mon Mothma. Like when you're building out your Mon Mothma team, you are usually modding most of those characters. Some folks even mod Mon Mothma herself in offense mods to make sure that you've got that strong basis of damage and usually a lot of tenacity in there. So if you were wanting to have the greatest flexibility, if you didn't want to build multiple Luthencrons, but wanted to have something that was kind of one size fits all, the stats would really be best served either way for Saw or Mon Mothma as health and tenacity. Obviously, under Saw's leadership, max health is amazing. Tenacity is usually a factor to shutting that team down. There are a number of counters that depend on landing debuffs, landing doubt, landing ability blocks, stuff like that. So anything you can do to help them stand up and stand tall is going to be a difference maker. What do you got to say about Luthen, Aesop?
Do you want to actually show the Luthen?
Oh, yeah,
Kron,
God.
Luthen
Yeah, that's kind of goofy of me. I should do that. We'll do
I
that.
think that helps
Luthen
everybody
Rail.
see.
Yeah, he has plus 5% max health and max protection per relic amplifier level, and the damage they receive is decreased by 15%. The reason we think this one's so good is because we would expect that this benefit's getting handed out to his summon, which means that if, I asked Aesop about this when we were talking before the recording. How does he take a look at Luthen these days? And you were saying you still run just pure speed, yeah?
Oh, speed and bulk, yeah. I think I still like Luthen taking turns, but making them thick now too. I mean, helps. So
Absolutely.
thick.
Yeah, and whether you wanted to go with health primaries, protection primaries, the point is you're getting really bulked out by this, especially if you're at this end of the game, and it's very common to see Relic 8, even Relic 9 Luthen. So the bigger, the badder, the better. And then also, a point to mention that if you like modding more like Fatal style, where he goes all defense sets, all protection primaries to make the biggest, most obnoxious tank out of the summon as possible. That is, that is even better now with this level 9. So it's worth considering. I'm probably still going to keep the very fast offense modding that I have on him, but not for nothing, it's going to be tough to kill the tank. All right, who was next on this list in Rebel Fighter? So we had Mon Mothma, of course, and we recommend that with the bulk level 3, 10% turn meter gain on buffs, and the same stat profile, really, of a mix of health and tenacity. You can argue which way you need to bend more. Maybe you've got a lot of tenacity built into your Mon Mothma sets, like I do, and so you'd benefit more from the health. If the opposite's the case, skew the other way. Let's take a look at how that ability reads. There it is. Whenever Mon Mothma uses a basic ability on their turn, other allies gain 25% turn meter. So it's like another Hoth Rebel scout on the team almost. How you feel about it, Aesop?
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna, back to the days of Mon Mothma killing Leia. So it's you survive the open, and then you just don't stop taking turns to the other team's dead. It's something we're all gonna have to account for now. So
it's gonna be bizarre. Now, I mean, obviously, this is going to be so much more dangerous in 5s than 3s. Um, so I guess, we'll have to consider just how good that would be.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we had one other honorable mention in here, and I know some of you will find this controversial, but we did want to give a shout out to the Datacron. Now, this could be used with either Saw or Mon Mothma, but we're mentioning it here third because we can see that for most occasions, most situations, you'll probably end up, if you were going to use both, for example, you would run the Mon Mothma Cron with your Mon Mothma, you would run Luthen with your Saw, and probably Bodhi, on the bench. But they're, not for nothing. We'll take a look at the 9 in a minute. Anyway, the level 3 we would have with it is the bulk. We'd have max health damage on the level 6 because, this would be used for Saw pretty much exclusively. I think it requires full Rebel Fighter, which is not an option under Radis lead, Mon Mothma lead, like that. I guess I should correct that. Saw only, I think. And then health and tenacity. But let's go ahead and check that I'm right on. You're about the Bodhi Rook level 9. So, if the allied leader is a rebel fighter. So, whenever a rebel fighter ally gains or loses turn meter or a bonus turn, they recover that much health and protection. Whenever an enemy loses turn meter, they take 10% of their max health as true damage. Whenever Bodhi Rook uses his basic ability, the target enemy loses 30% turn meter, which can't be resisted. If Bodhi Rook is defeated while another Rebel Fighter ally is active, he revives with 50% health and takes a bonus turn. So you might look at this and say, oh, that's kind of interesting, but I don't really see what all that's going to do. So he's got this that inflicts evasion down, can't be evaded. Other ally gains offense up and potency up for 2 turns and is called to assist. If the target ally is a rebel, Bodhi gains 30% turn meter. So that's going to happen. It's going to move him. He's gaining turn meter. His other specials will come quick. He's got TMR for the enemy, doubled against Empire, can't be evaded. And then you have all allies gain 10% turn meter, doubled on rebel allies. And this unique that is easily overlooked. But while Bodhi is active, rebel allies with offense up, which he hands out, how conveniently, also gain plus 50% defense. At the end of each of his turns, Bodhi grants offense up for 2 turns to a random ally who doesn't have it. So he has a special that actively gives out offense up, and then if you've got him fast and you've got him gaining all this turn meter, he's just going to be passively handing out the offense up and with it plus 50% defense to rebel out. So it could be nasty. I think it's a worthy consideration for Saw, when you look at it in that full context. That being said, though, Luthen and having Luthen stick around and having that summon be as obnoxious as possible is a big deal. So, consider for yourself. Aesop, what do you have for that?
Yeah, no, I'm always excited to try to find ways to use Bodhi and little used characters. So I'm definitely going to play with this as much as possible, and I hope I have one in time for next week. So you might get to experience it live in your GAC streams.
Yay!
So we'll get to have some fun.
Can't wait! Fantastic. Looking forward to
So
it. Though. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So we'll see. I mean, I think you can also work under a Mon Mothma team. I don't know that it's going to be better than the Mon Mothma Cron, but Bodhi both giving out buffs, or if you went with the percent health defense or damage for that, he has a debuff on basic also. I think it's like evasion down or something.
Yeah. But aren't you concerned about how it says like this whole thing, this whole level 9 says if the allied leader is a rebel fighter, which would only
that's
be
right.
Saw.
You would know to put it under. Yeah, you're right. I think it's under Saw only. And the other idea was to add Rad too for him, if I recall.
Yeah, I think I don't.
He is Rogue One. So.
Yeah, he's Rogue One, but he's not rebel fighter. See.
Oh, that's right, Adred. Yeah, so you really only get to use them under Saw.
Yeah, so it's a discretion. Rough. It's you can see what we're talking about here, folks. Like if you're maybe of the mind to have a more defensively kitted out, Luthen, you're trying to make this more obnoxious on defense. Maybe Luthen is the way. If you want to use this as a really nasty offensive tool, or just a pure chaos factor on defense, you might try Bodhi instead.
Yeah.
Well, if you had no further comment on that one, we'll move into the next faction here. Separatists. All right, first up on deck is Dooku. So you're going to go with the 3 buffs on special level 3. So gaining your evasion up, health steal up, health up. Level 6. A couple choices to make here, but we think that specifically for him, the riposte level 6 is probably better than the damage immunity. You could make a reasonable case for either. And then the stats. Last time we had a trench cron, you could say you were really weak on your tenacity for trench, and you really do want to have him in good tenacity for the most part. You might say that, I should prioritize tenacity on the cron, but I'd rather you not, because the health is going to be hilarious. High health on that team was such a bear to fight through with things in the past, so worth considering. Let's take a look at that Dooku look. All right. Count Dooku has plus 200% crit chance and critical damage while he is inflicted with a debuff. Whenever a Separatist ally uses a special ability on their turn, Count Dooku assists and dispels all buffs on the target enemy. At the end of his turn, Count Dooku is inflicted with disarm until the end of his next turn. Whenever Count Dooku takes damage during his turn, the weakest enemy is dealt 200% of that damage, which can't defeat them. So you're not used to this guy doing this kind of damage, and that's the real threat. Is that it's going to be sneaky, and between this and having riposte, this could be very, very painful stuff. What you got to say, Aesop?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I'd even go riposte. If I recall, I think I'd go like blind or something, right? If he's going to be, I mean, for Dooku's, he's going to be countering, right? Because Dooku's first move is already still going to be the riposte up, right? He's going to put himself under stealth, gain riposte. He's going to have it. And so if you have him now assisting and blinding every single time, I mean, I think that's going to be brutal. Or
the blind, I wonder if that 200% damage thing that goes out to the weakest would be a proper trigger for applying that blind. If so, that's actually kind of crazy. That's a good thought. All right, well, I'll update that right here on the chart. We'll say it. Blind, but you would still say the next. I mean, would you just 100% roll with this then, and just forego the idea of damage immunity with Dooku Kron?
I mean, again, it's probably going to be defense versus offense. I have no idea. Like, if you're going to get outrun and steamrolled out the middle by, say, like EPSK or Afra or something, someone's going to try to use that on. If you're putting this on defense, then you're going to want damage immunity to mess with that, right? Again, I don't know how well it's going to mess with it, but on offense, I can see the blind being just, helping them punch up,
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we'll say that the blind is certainly standing out. Damage immunity has obvious benefits, but blind definitely can do a lot here. So interesting enough. All right. Next one to consider is the Nukron. This one we also recommended with damage immunity, but who knows? We might amend it as we're looking through it here. 3 buffs on special level 3. And again, the stat profile being health. Whether it's Newt lead or still running under trench, still looking like health is the thing that this team wants the most. All right, let's take a look at that ability. Newt Gunray gains 15% turn meter when other allies use a special ability on their turn. So, his extortion threat, cooldown increase, mass assist, all of the normal things that you don't like about Newt happening that much more often. And clearly, since this is based on other ally special abilities, you'll get more out of this in 5 vs 5 than in 3 vs 3. But you also essentially get 2 Separatist teams out of the normal trench team from 5 vs 5. So you can have the best of both worlds. What you got for this one, Aesop?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of clever theory crafting ways to play with this, right? Because it doesn't say Separatist ally. I believe it said any ally, right? For Newt.
When other allies use a special ability. So you're thinking a more plug-and-play Newt. Okay.
He's also a scoundrel, so you can stick him with some other scoundrel teams to have some fun with. Who knows? You stick him under Grievous, like back in the old school Grievous teams, pre-staff or something, and just get Newt out running early. I mean, there's all sorts of fun stuff you can do with these things. So,
It's a good one. All right, next up is Grievous. So, level 3 will still be buffs on special. The level 6 we definitely think is the blind. And of course, stats for Grievous in particular should be health focused. As far as the ability goes, whenever another ally uses an ability on their turn, so that it doesn't have to be a special, it can be a basic, but it does have to be on their turn, so it won't trigger off of allies who are called to assist. But whenever another ally uses an ability on their turn, General Grievous assists, limit once per turn, dealing 50% more damage. Not 50% less, like a lot of assist skills do. It's 50% more. And again, if he's getting called to assist all the time, if you, God forbid, you happen to be hitting somebody who doesn't already have blind on them, he's going to be applying blind with that level 6. How you feeling about this one, Aesop?
Again, I'm loving it for plug and play purposes. Like, there's got to be something fun to do with, because he can assist on anything. Again, it's not relegated to separatists. So there's huge opportunity to stick him with all sorts of fun teams and just have him assist and, basically be a blind. Anybody's generating lots of turns, TM that you're not faction locked with. We're gonna have some fun with this. So
I'm kind of excited for it, and you can see this is the only level 9 I have set up from this set, so look for me next week with this one. I'll try to improve some of these rolls, but yes, I'm excited for them. All right, who's next on the list? Yeah, last but not least, an honorable mention to Poggle. So, if you're going to go after this one, obviously, for your Geos, I would think, because for any other of your Separatist teams, surely one of these would be more attractive. But yeah, if you're running this one, it would be the 3 buffs on special. Blind level 6, again, you're thinking about what adds most to this team. If you're going to do Geonosians, just being able to continuously punish with that blind seems very attractive. And then, of course, the stats. Crit damage is always a strong choice with Geonosians. Health is good for all of them, for everybody. So it's a generic fit. I would accept a balance between either. Ideally, skewing more towards crit damage, I would say. But let's take a look at that Poggle level 9. Whenever Poggle the Lesser attacks out of turn, they gain a stack of heal over time and protection over time for 2 turns, and they inflict target enemy with protection disruption for 1 turn. So I think it's one of the other Geonosians that applies tenacity down on basic, but it soldier.
Yeah.
Thank you. But it practically ushers in this protection disruption for free. Note that it doesn't say that only one enemy target can be the victim of this. It does only last 1 turn, but you get to attack a bunch out of turn with this guy. This whole team is about having every one of them assist each other one of them. So this could be exploited. It seems kind of fun.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, so please, chime in, sir.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun if you have like the buffs up 3, right? Try to ramp your spy as fast as possible. I mean, I'm curious to play with Geos again. It's been a while. See what they can do. So, yeah.
They're not necessarily relegated just to a Lone Lord Vader Slacker cleanup this time, is what you're saying?
Well, or you just pulling GBA as an extra tank thing for going with something.
Yeah.
So it's, they might actually be useful. So it'll be fun.
Fair. All right, let's head on down the list. Next faction is Sith. So, first one up, and you all knew this one was coming, is going to be Darth Sidious. The level 3 should be the 2% max health damage. Yeah, he's doing damage over times. We should take advantage of that. Level 6 should be the 10% offense stack. It just seems like a natural fit for him. And of course, the stat profile, potency. It makes his debuff stick. It gives him a ton of survivability at the start of the fight. It is by far the thing he wants most. Trust me. Let's take a look at that level 9. All right. If there are no other active allies at the start of battle, Darth Sidious gains 200% defense, max health, health steal, and max protection, 100% counter chance, and critical chance, and 100 speed. He is immune to daze and stun. At the start of his turn, dispel all debuffs on himself and reset all cooldowns. Whenever he uses his basic ability, inflict a stack of damage over time for 1 turn which can't be resisted, and whenever he uses a special ability, dispel all buffs on all enemies. Enemies can't assist or attack again if he is targeted. So no attacks out of turn, no direct focus from AKR, any of that. At the start of each enemy's turn, if they have at least 5 stacks of damage over time, they are instantly defeated. And whenever an enemy is defeated, he recovers 100% health and protection. Real casual. So we've had this one before. It's the second go round of this level 9. And a lot of folks ask, what is the good of this? If nothing else, it's going to raise the floor of defense. If you've ever complained, even once, that people's defenses seem too cheesy, good for you, because this is your time to shine. Those folks that are setting something down that they want to leave for Darth Sidious to get a clean, 69 in 5 versus 5, and something, 59 in 3 versus 3, something crazy like that. So if they want to leave themselves open to it by setting a certain low level of defense, anything below the line of Darth Sidious is just going to get gobbled up for 59 or, better, something like that. What do you got for this one, Aesop?
This is always the fun gambling one where it's like you're in 3s and you're like, can I take Malgus? I think I can. And you go in and get dunked and don't survive. But, it's, as you said, it makes you think about your defense. I think especially for 3s, of really understanding what are the mechanics of this team, what are its limits, and how do you make sure you get just above it. So,
and it is actually a tall order. I mean, it's a lot of, Darth Bane's effects. A lot of folks are, thank their lucky star that it doesn't make sense to employ Bane on defense. And this kind of brings some of that horror show to the issue. Because if you're trying to set a defense that's going to impede him, you have to handle something that's going to reset its cooldown every time it gets a turn, immune to daze and stun, all these stats. It's a lot. All right. Next one. Dark Talon. So, level 3, we go with the 3 buffs on special like before. Level 6, recommend the bonus turn. So this, Talon is most often going to be with your Treya team. Your Treya team is most often including Darth Nihilus. So we're mostly thinking about this bonus turn serving Darth Nihilus. But of course, it would work for every ally, I think. Each ally once, I believe it was. As far as stats go, survivability should certainly be the priority. Because of all the health gain in that team, through the Omicrons and through, Talon's Unique and such, you've got a lot of health synergy. So I would say health is a great way to go. You could also go with Prot and not be disappointed. If you're in a part of the game where the Gidme counters, so Padme lead, Gideon, and 3 Galactic Republic supports or healers besides, that's a really reliable team for countering very high health Treya teams. But that's only if, the key enemy targets are very high health. If you mod for very high protection, if you're equipping a Datacron for very high protection, that can absorb the true damage hit from those Galactic Republic characters who are doing damage based on the receiving character's max health. So it's something to consider, but bulk either way is the way to run, we think. Let's take a look at that 9. Talon. Whenever Talon uses a basic ability, she gains protection up 50% stacking for 2 turns and 50% turn meter. Whenever Darth Talon damages an enemy using a special ability, inflict fear for 1 turn on that enemy, which can't be evaded or resisted. So, all this turn meter gain means that once she gets up to the point that she gets her first frenzy, which is going to come quicker than ever, look out, man, because this character's already a problem when she gets up to that point. It's coming faster than ever. And once she starts doing specials, she's just going to be handing out fear like candy. You don't need extra bad effects on you when you're fighting this Treya team. That team is one of the strongest non-galactic legend teams in the game. It doesn't need a lot of help, but it's getting help here. What do you think, Aesop?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely curious because, you'll see in the history that I just beat your Treya team with Finzori. It's clutch, it works. those exposes help wreck those high health teams. But if you're feared, you don't get to take turns. And so I'm curious if that ends up, really changing the dynamics of some of the cheap counters, we've been getting away with against, Treya teams in the past. So
Absolutely.
this will be interesting.
All right. And the last within the Sith set that we think is really worth considering is going to be the Emperor Palpatine Kron. The level 3 natural fit's going to be the 2% max health damage. Level 6 we think should be the 10% offense stacking. And then, stats. You could make a reasonable case for any mix of health, crit damage, or armor penetration. I think in the past, when I had less health, when I was worried about EP, and then to a lesser extent, Starkiller, just dying to an unfortunate second whirlwind. That sometimes happens when you're fighting Rey. You're usually expecting to take and survive one, but getting 2 of those early before her first ultimate, that could be a bad time. Maybe you want more health to help mitigate situations like that if you don't have so many relics on your EP. Otherwise, crit damage, armor penetration, boosting Starkiller's damage ends the fight sooner. There are a lot of matchups where I have handily won the fight long before I was ready to call the ship down. So I don't mind leaning into that way. I'm open to what the Kron gives. Let's take a look at that EP. There you are. Whenever Emperor Palpatine stuns an enemy, Emperor Palpatine gains 10% crit damage, stacking, maximum 200%, and 5 speed, stacking, maximum of 50, until the end of the encounter. So you're not used to this guy actually handing out real harm to the enemy. Just a lot of control, a lot of effects, a lot of good stuff for his team, but not damage. And they should be ready. Woe unto they who underestimate the Emperor. What you got to say for this one, Aesop?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun one. It's been hard to find uses for Starkiller. So, this might be a new, Kron just for him. So
Could be. I really liked that Savage Starkiller team. That
I wish it did more.
I think if I hadn't very specifically saved Reva for the Dispel stuff on there, it would have been a much more complicated tale. So, to your point, though, finding great uses for Starkiller can be hard these days. And, giving a little extra oomph to EP, I think is well deserved, well appreciated. All right, that wraps up the Sith. Next one, let's talk about the Bad Batch faction. First up, obvious pick is going to be Crosshair. Level 3 should be the light side bulk, 15% health and protection. Level 6 should be the Ignore Taunt. This is just far and away the standout. I think if it's, we already know that the AI for this new Bad Batch team is kind of, goofy, like most of them are. It's not necessarily going to make the wisest decisions, but I like the idea, whether on offense or defense, that they have the discretion to ignore taunt a lot of the time, if not all the time. And then, of course, stats should be armor penetration or crit damage. I would try to specialize for one or the other. If you end up where it's, prohibitively expensive to just shake off that last bit of armor penetration or crit damage in favor of the other, leave it alone. It's fine. It'll be okay. Let's take a look at the level 9. Crosshair. All right, whenever Crosshair Scarred loses a stack of Shaken, he loses another stack of Shaken, so he's freeing up twice as fast. Whenever Crosshair doesn't score a critical hit, he inflicts buff immunity on target enemy for 2 turns, which can't be evaded or resisted. So while he's busy not hitting anybody early, he will be applying this, though. When he doesn't score a critical hit, I don't know if that means that it implies that he must hit first and then not crit. If it means what I think it means, when he's attacking and missing early on, then he has a lot of utility before he's freed up of all his stacks of Shaken. But otherwise, this is still kind of useful. And then the third clause, whenever Crosshair deals damage to an enemy, the weakest ally without stealth recovers 10% health and protection. This is a team that is already rife with health and protection recovery. And then, just kind of a team-wide savior mechanic. It's a lot. It's a lot already, so adding more to this makes them even more dangerous. What say you, Aesop? Still alive out there, buddy? Oh, I got a DM. Oh. Aesop, I got a quick call while we're recording. It happens. He'll be back with us in a moment. We'll get his take on that. We'll circle back to it and catch him up when we get in on the next cron. Let's talk about Batcher up next. So, all of these are going to have the 15% health and protection bulk level 3. All of them are going to have Ignore Taunt. It's just the best way to go. All right, and then, of course, Batcher level 9, again, with armor penetration or crit damage as a stat block. Still recommend that. Same recommendation as I did with Crosshair. The level 9 for, for Batcher says, Batcher is immune to Daze and Stun. Whenever Batcher damages an enemy, she removes 15% turn meter from them and gains that much turn meter. If there are no galactic legends, enemies can't gain bonus turn meter. So kind of like a Hux effect, almost. Problem. He'll pop back in when he can. All right. Let's see, what else did I miss? So yeah, if there are no galactic legends, enemies can't gain bonus turn meter. And then whenever another Bad Batch ally is inflicted with captive, reset the cooldowns of Batcher's abilities. She dispels all debuffs on her, and she takes a bonus turn. So this character, her purpose is to mark the priority targets behind the enemy's tank and let your team go after. She's fast. She has a decent amount of damage on her, and giving her turn meter gain, bonus turns, helps accelerate your team towards killing priority targets. So I like what this one can do. Still, for most situations, I think I'm going to be more interested in Crosshair, though. All right. Last up on this list is Tech. This is for your classic Bad Batch team, but I want to say that the Ignore Taunt still holds water there. Yeah, by a Bad Batch ally, yeah. There's no reason why this still couldn't work. And then, of course, if you have an ally get defeated, you're having your tank just get buffed up, or whoever's remaining, I guess, as they're dying one by one. So yeah, still probably sticking with the Ignore Taunt, to be honest. You could consider other options. But yeah, as far as stats go, crit damage is amazing for the original Bad Batch team. Potency's also really a factor. You are trying to land the stun from Tech. Of course, you want expose going out. There's turn meter reduction. There are a variety of debuffs that you're looking to land there. There's also, AoE stun from Wrecker, so on. So you might consider that way. Looking at Tech's level 9... At the start of each of Tech's turns, they reset their cooldowns and lose 5% health for each turn each ability was reduced. Tech can't be defeated in this way. So, yeah, reset the cooldown means that you could have like a chain stun scenario. Tech does favor using his grenade, his AoE stun on his first turn. So, it could be a serious issue, depending on whether or not you're ready for it. Think about it. If he was actually the last and you had that buffed up level 6, he could be a boss unto himself. Kind of a fun thought. All right. Yeah. Well, I feel we've reached a pretty natural end to the video, and Aesop did tell me when we started the call today, he's got, renovations going on in his house, got multiple contractors running around, so I appreciate him making the time to squeeze this in. We're all busy, and yeah, appreciate the time, man. So, when you catch up and see this video, know that I appreciate the hell out of you making the time to be here today. Thank you, everybody, for watching this video. This chart will be posted on my Discord. I have a couple friends that are a little more art savvy. I'm talking to them, see if I can't get this dressed up a little prettier. But at the very least, this basic will be released publicly with the video. So look for that. And of course, you could take a screenshot if you want yourself. But if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Give a subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. And until next time, it's been real. It's been awesome. Been real awesome. Take care.